Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us for our Zoom event. Today's Zoom event is called Planning Ahead, Advanced Directives and End-of-Life Decisions. My name is Liz Rippey. I'm a social worker and bereavement counselor with New England Hospice. We really are trying to encourage our community members to take part in our monthly Zoom events. We have a number of them each month, whether it's educational, informational, to bingo, to general discussions about what we do. We've got book reviews, we've got lots of other stuff going on, which we really encourage everyone to kind of participate. And they're all free, which is really, really great. So you also don't have to be a current family member whose loved one, or patient whose loved one is, or patient who's on our receiving care. So you have neighbors, or you have friends who are interested in the information that we're talking about. We really encourage you passing that information along. It's open for everybody. Please feel free to email me, whether it's after this Zoom or sometime down the road. I really do encourage that as well. My email address is right down here at the end of this slide at the bottom. It's erippey@newenglandhospice.com. You can find more information at our website at newenglandhospice.com, or you could call as well. We're happy to connect you to someone who works within your area, whether it be Western Mass or somewhere in somewhere in the area where you live, or even if you're an out-of-state loved one. We're just happy to have you here and to kind of get to know what your needs are and to happy to help in general. So thank you so much for being here again. So we're going to jump right in. All right, so our goals today. Today we're going to discuss advanced directives and end-of-life care decisions, learn the different types of advanced directives, recognize the advantages of these advanced directives, and identify resources that can help you complete your planning needs, your advanced directives planning needs. So I wanted to actually just take one quick moment. This is open to all ages. I think that's really important to put it out there right off the bat. A lot of times we think that when we talk about end-of-life care and we talk about advanced care planning or advanced directive planning, we're talking about when we're 80 and 90. And really what we're talking about is talking about what we need to do to take care of any unforeseen, unfortunate accidents or anything that might occur in the future. So the future is today. So we really encourage families to have conversations starting today, no matter where you are on your life cycle journey. It can start as early as 20 years old. We really do encourage this type of conversation to start today. So open to all ages. It's never too early. Because unfortunately we just never know. And in today's world unfortunately we've been going through this pandemic for the last year. So I feel like maybe now we know more than we've ever before how crazy the world can get. So having conversations, especially around your healthcare needs, is really important, no matter how old you are. Do you have a map? That's our next question. Advanced care planning is like planning a road trip to an unfamiliar destination. While people approach mapping their route in different ways, your trip can be made more comfortable by planning ahead. An advanced directive is a map detailing where you want your healthcare to go in the future should you not be able to voice your wishes. So before we begin talking about the specifics, just taking a mental note to think about where you are in terms of who knows and what are the steps you've done so far to make your needs known or your wishes known to loved ones or friends or whoever it may be in your life, should something unfortunate were to happen. Do you have any type of plan or a map at this current moment? Your map or advanced directives are going to establish your healthcare wishes, and these often change throughout your life cycle. What your decisions look like at 20 are most likely going to look very different at 50. And then again at 80. So like roadmaps do detour, and there's often a lot of changes in the, when we map out, routes and things like that. So throughout your life cycle, just like a map, when you are traveling through something, you're going to make several changes and adapt your map to the way that you are living currently or traveling currently. It's all about being prepared. It's all about having these discussions throughout your life cycle, and things again change when you're 20 to you're 50, and again into your 80s and older life. And again, it's just about having these discussions and making sure that you are all understanding that things change and all of that stuff. So, and in our next slide, I'm going to go over that with a brief example of why it's so important to have these conversations before things happen, before unfortunate events occur. I'm going to just read this little excerpt, maybe a little case study, if you will, on an example of why it's so important. This is just one example, one short story. Of course, there are lots of other reasons why you'd want healthcare, healthcare decisions made. And I'm going to read this off, and we'll go from there. So, Mary has been independent and living in her own home for many years. Her daughter, Susan, visits weekly to spend time with her mom and see how she's doing. In recent weeks, Susan has observed her mother experiencing memory lapses, disorganized thoughts. Susan has also noticed Mary's gait has become unsteady. During one particular visit with her mother, Mary was unable to recall if she had taken her daily medication and couldn't remember if she ate breakfast that morning. After a discussion with her family, Susan feels it's best that Mary receives additional care at home, and she moves in to help her. Mary's primary care physician has determined that she's suffering from mid-stages of Alzheimer's disease and is no longer competent to make her own medical decisions. Mary has never discussed with her family about who she would want to make medical decisions for her if she were unable to. Or what type of medical choices she'd want for herself. So now Susan is having a difficult time trying to figure out what her mother's advanced directives are. So the question would be, what happens next? So this again is just one scenario as to why it's very important. So right now we're having Susan trying to guess what Mary's end of life wishes are going to be and how to direct her care going forward. And if Mary is really unable to voice those decisions or voice those wishes, Susan and her other children, whoever is in her life, have to kind of guess and try to make the right decisions as best as they can, thinking about what Mary would actually want. So again, a reason why advanced directive planning is so important is so you alleviate all of these general questions of what if, and I'm not sure, and we've never had these conversations. I'm not sure what mom would want. So in this type of example, unfortunately, what would be the next course? So Mary has nothing in place. She's never decided who she wanted to make medical decisions for her in case she was unable to. She's never made it known what kind of decisions she'd want down the road in case she became unable to, breathe, or the types of medical treatments that she would want towards her end of life care is what I should be saying. So no one knows what these are. Does mom want to be hospitalized with these types of life-sustaining treatment options? Does she want to be, hooked up to artificial types of measures to keep her alive? Unfortunately, right now, it looks like no one knows what's going on. So again, families are left guessing, and which can bring to a lot of really hard stress and anxiety and a lot of guilt. A lot of family members, if you have a lot of siblings or just a lot of family members that are involved in a certain person's care, also have different opinions on what end-of-life care should look like for a particular person. Where one person might say hospice is a great choice if the doctor has determined that they qualify and they believe in the hospice philosophy, or your sister, your other family members don't agree and they want every life-sustaining measure taken. They want to go through the whole gamut of everything, and there's no, at that point there's really no right or wrong because there hasn't been a discussion. So it's not really about trying to figure out who's wrong or who's right. It's really trying to figure out what would mom would want. And everyone might have a different opinion on that based on their relationships and their own biases or their own feelings, and everything is hard at that time to figure out. Another reason why having things in place at this point too, by this time, is because if you want to assign someone that you feel comfortable making your medical decisions for you. So what often happens is if you don't have someone assigned, if you haven't specifically chosen someone, at least in Massachusetts, many other states too, what will happen is that the courts then have to decide who's a fit person to make these decisions for you. Oftentimes, a guardian will be assigned. That guardian can be a family member. It's often an adult child that's been known to show that they are present in the care of this person. They've done, they've shown they've been caring for this loved one. They can show. But oftentimes, if families don't agree or for whatever other reason, guardianship can be given to a non-family member, and that could be quite challenging for the family as well when someone you don't know is in control of your mother or your aunt or whoever it may be, their health decisions. So that can be really challenging. So this is one example of why, again, it's very, very important to start having these conversations now. And it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be negative. It can be very important and often alleviating a lot of the discomfort. And once you do it, a lot of families say they put it in a box, they put their paperwork in a box, or they put their info away. They've had these discussions and they can move on with their life. But it doesn't have to be a negative conversation. It does not have to be a scary conversation. It's really just prep work for the future, should something happen. And again, alleviating all of this chaos that can come from not having anything in place later down the road. Why you need an advance. So most of what I just said, your wishes will be known, only used if you are unable to express your decisions. This can happen to anyone at any age, which I've said, and it gives your loved ones the gift of peace of mind. So again, exactly what I had just said a moment ago. The one thing I will add here is that, yes, so only used if you are unable to express your decisions. So if you are able to make your needs known and you have your advanced care documents, you can change those at any time. You are in charge of your care as long as you are deemed competent by a medical physician to make those needs known. So, you could be short-term or long-term due to whatever reason that you are unable to make these decisions. But while you are able to make these decisions, you can change them at any time. And that's what we're talking about, having conversations and updating paperwork and updating your decisions throughout your lifespan. So again, things at 20 were going to look very different at 50 to 80. Life circumstances just change, they ebb and flow. So you can change these. You can change them daily if you like. That's how flexible they are, as long as you are already in control of your mental capacity and things like that. Very interesting kind of little to note that most Americans, about 88%, feel comfortable discussing issues relating to death and dying, yet only 42% have a living will. So what this looks like is that most people are okay talking about it, but not following through with an actual written plan to put into place. So I'm not sure. I didn't find any the reasons. I didn't understand, or I couldn't find that. But I think making sure that, you know, on our end, we're providing as much education to families as possible. So, you know, that could just be making sure that you are receiving all the documents that you need ahead of time. And if that's the only barrier, that's something that we're going to be working really hard on, you know, making sure that that stuff is getting to our community. What are advanced directives? They're a written statement of your wishes, preferences, and choices regarding end-of-life care decisions, a tool to help you through and communicate your choices. And it's a roadmap for your future healthcare. So again, we're talking about that map and planning that out. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. So they're both written and oral. So written instructions about your future medical care are only used if you're seriously ill and injured, unable to speak for yourself, and yeah, two parts to an advanced directive. There's a living will and a medical health care proxy. We'll get into the terminology in a second, but they're often, advanced directives can sort of be considered both oral and written. We're really talking about more of the written type. Oral is sort of an unwritten way of letting your families know, but really what you want to do is have written documentation so it's clearly laid out, and there is legal paperwork that binds your decisions where others can't change them later on. So whether, you know, you can discuss with your family and say, hey, at this point, you know, if I turn 80 and something weird happened to me, I still want, for example, I still want to be, you know, resuscitated. I still want this, I still want that. But the time comes and, you know, someone doesn't follow that, you know, it's better to have both the written and the oral, you know, conversations. So, and then talking about the terminology as well down here. Two-part, the living will and medical healthcare power of attorney. I think that's on my next slide. So the terminology of advanced directives, some say they're really kind of interchangeable depending on what you're talking about. So what we're really all talking about, and this is really just a basic overview today, is the advanced directives of what your end-of-life care or what your health care looks like at any given moment that you decide. So living will, medical, you know what, I actually think I talked about that in my other slide, so I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but medical healthcare, you'll often hear healthcare proxy or power of attorney. Some of these are interchangeable in your living will. So we'll start with medical power of attorney, a document that specifies who you want to make decisions about your medical care. This person is authorized to speak for you only if you are unable to make your own medical decisions. And again, oh, here we go. So like, may also be called certain things: healthcare proxy agent, healthcare surrogate, durable power of attorney for healthcare. Very interchangeable, kind of all meaning the same thing. So a medical power of attorney can be used at any time, not only at the end of your life. Again, this is a reoccurring theme that it's just a discussion that we're having throughout our lifespan. It's a legal form that states who you want to make decisions about your medical care. And this person is authorized to speak for you only if you are unable to make your own medical decisions. So when you elect someone to be your power of attorney, to be your healthcare agent, if you are still competent throughout your life cycle, that person can change as well. You don't have to elect someone at 20 that you are, thinking is going to be there, to make those decisions 40, 50 years later. This is an ongoing process. Can't stress that enough. So things are always going to change, but it's just being aware of that when the changes do happen in your life, to just take stock and say, wow, I've had a major life change. You've had a baby, you've had, a different loss in your life. You've moved, away from where your healthcare proxy lives. It's definitely just an all around about, idea to keep in mind during life changes, that this is part of one of your life changes. So in essence, this is your backup driver, so that when unexpected roadblocks appear along your healthcare journey, your backup driver is able to choose a detour that is keeping with your values, wishes, and choices. So sort of keeping around that, like that map that we're talking about. So these are really, so the both, the living will and the power of attorney, the healthcare agents, they're, these are documents that are protecting your wishes for your care at end of life. And, having the right person to speak on your behalf is really, really important. It's an important decision to have in mind. So the advantages are, you are in charge of making your own decisions. Documents can be changed at any time, so I got ahead of myself. You do not need an attorney, which is great. Documents, some people do. Documents can help you express your wishes in greater detail than, and help prompt you to figure out what you would like. And most of the time, and they're free. These documents are really all free. You can find these documents online pretty easily. Of course, they might look different from state to state. Here in Massachusetts, you can find most of these documents on our mass.gov website anyway. You can pretty much go to any hospice site, often has these documents as well. You can reach out to the hospice staff and say, hey, do you mind just emailing me these types of documents? I don't know, I don't know where else to get them, but they're pretty easily found if you just do a basic Google search as well. And if you just put in what state you live in, you'll get stuff pertaining to your state. Very, very, very easy. There's really no disadvantages to having these. There's just really none. All of it is just, it's planning. It's open discussion is always going to be in your best interest. It's always going to be something that's going to help further future conversations down the road, especially if certain things are occurring in your life and you want to be as prepared as possible. So if you started the conversation early, it's a really good start. It's just going to fuel future conversations as you continue through your life cycle. So the medical terms, when we're talking about end-of-life care decision making, you will often see these on the documents that you're having. So when we're talking about the life-sustaining measures that we want, we're talking about artificial nutrition and hydration, CPR, a DNR, do not resuscitate, what type of palliative care, what type of, are we looking at hospice care? And again, a lot of this might be you're thinking pertaining to some time down the road when I'm older and it's, but unfortunately, again, accidents happen all the time. So lots of things can help prompt you through these decisions. And I actually have, some forms here that are really, really, especially this 5 wishes one, which I will show you on the next slide right here. So these life-sustaining treatment options are all discussed through this certain documentation. Again, you can find this all online very, very easily. You can always reach out to us to get these documents as well. So let's just say you've elected, you have your healthcare proxy form and you've elected, let's just say it's your spouse. You've elected your spouse to take care of medical decisions for you. If you were unable to, you can pick another secondary agent should your first agent or healthcare proxy agent not be able to. So you elect 2 healthcare proxy agents, your first one and your second optional one. You've done all that. You've said, this is who I want to make medical decisions for me. Your next step is to decide what those medical decisions would be in case of an emergency. And these documents are really, really helpful. They're here in Massachusetts, they're often this really bright pink color in hospital settings, nursing home settings, in medical settings of any kind of type. Maybe some people are already familiar with this, maybe they have get surgery, and it's pretty standard to have this on hand in the hospital. So you're really going through these documents, and you're being prompted as to what at your specific time in life, if something were to happen, would you want to be resuscitated? Would you want to be intubated? Transfer to the hospital if you're home, or if you're receiving home care like hospice care, do you want to just be comfortable and be kept at home? It goes through dialysis, artificial nutrition, artificial hydration, and you can add in other specific conditions as medical conditions as well on your care. This is a front and back side, so this really is going to tell folks that are that you've elected in your care what you want at your time. Lots of people put these on their fridge. They put them in a special folder. So let's say something unfortunate were to happen. The person you've elected to be your healthcare agent says, "Oh, she's got one. I know she's got one. It's going in a special folder. This is, you give this to whoever's taking care of your loved one." And they say, "Okay, wow, this is all perfect. This is what she wanted. I don't have to think about what medical decisions I have to make for my loved one, for my spouse when the time comes." You have everything written down. You have everything discussed, and then that way, you're not guessing. You're not second guessing as well. So you have another document called the 5 Wishes. So this is a little bit more extensive. This is a really nice all-in-one. It does not include the MOLST form, the Massachusetts Medical Orders of Life-Sustaining Treatment is what it's called. We call it the MOLST for short because it's a really long name. Again, you can find this on the mass.gov website. So with the 5 Wishes is more in-depth to a whole myriad of things that you would want at your end of life, at your end of life. So it's a really nice kind of booklet, and everything is really self-explanatory, and it takes you through, what are the 5 wishes, and it helps you to identify certain family members who you want involved in your care. There are 42 states that actually use this quite frequently, and this is, something that's can be used legally in your state. So there's 42 states that recognize this document, which is really, really great. And what you do is you can actually, like I kind of said, it's like an all-in-one document, but you have your healthcare. You can choose your healthcare agent. Like your healthcare proxy form is already in here, so you can actually designate your healthcare agent, your secondary healthcare agent, and it's all in one booklet. So it's really nice. It's really, really helpful. And again, it prompts you through things that you might not even be thinking, and it helps. You can have this and have a conversation with your family members. So just for an example, we might just take you through it for a minute. What you should keep in mind as my caregiver. So if you're talking to somebody and saying, like, really want you to be in charge of my care should something happen, these are the types of things that you should know. Are you up for that task? What life support treatment means to me? And there's always room to write down your answers too. So it's not just checking off boxes. While there are boxes to check off, it's not just checking off boxes. You have lots of room to write in to make sure that you are, you're not just fitting into a box. And it goes through things like, if you're close to death, do you want life support treatment? I don't want life support treatment. I want life support treatment if my doctor believes it could help. But I want my doctor to stop giving me life support treatment if it is not helping my condition or symptoms. So really kind of gives a little bit more detail into the decisions where, do you want CPR, or I do want CPR, I don't want CPR. This gives you a little bit more kind of in between for your medical proxy and your doctors to kind of figure out, what's the best next step if you're a little unsure yourself. But it takes you through what happens if you were be in a coma, or if you were to have severe brain injury or damage, what conditions you'd like to be kept alive. I mean, it's not stuff that's ideally like dinner table conversation and, but again, just very realistic stuff to talk about. And again, being prepared as possible. So there are 5 wishes. Your third wish is how comfortable you want to be, types of, it takes you through the whole thing. It's just so great. My wish for how I want people to treat me. For example, I wish to have pictures of my loved ones in my room near my bed. I wish to be cared with kindness and cheerfulness and not sadness. I wish to have the members of my faith community told that I'm sick and asked to pray for me and visit for me. So really, really nice document. They did this. Is very beautiful. So I do recommend, we can obviously send this to family members as well. If you're looking for this type of document, I really do highly recommend having one of these in your family catch-all or document area or something like that. And again, these resources are all generally free. So we really do encourage people to start searching. If you're not tech savvy, we can always mail things to you. We're always happy to do that. Your local senior center, your local hospital, your doctor's office, even your kid's pediatrician offices are all going to have these types of documents. And really, they should be talking to you. This should be a conversation that people should be having in general as a basic form of what type of medical care you want or are receiving, because it's still really important to know what your plans are. So you can go to careinfo.com. There are state-specific advanced directive forms. So should you not live in Massachusetts, you don't have to go to mass.gov and try to figure all that out. Planning ahead and talking with loved ones and your care providers. Really just cannot say it enough. Just open communication. Again, never too early. And then you can download a bunch of stuff too. And sometimes it's really hard to even just start the conversation. But again, it sounds like from the earlier research that I had just kind of made a note of is that, we are talking about it, but we're just not technically planning for it in a way that would be considered maybe legal or concrete, I should say, when events do happen. And that's it. So we really do encourage questions. Please reach out to me. It's erippi@newenglandhospice.com. You can call our number at 781-749-2900. Really, really do hope that people reach out to us if they have questions. Again, internet search, can't go wrong there. These documents are everywhere. And please visit our website as well. Take advantage of our free Zoom events. They're here for everyone. Anyone who has any interest in kind of what we do or planning for the future. Mom is doing well at home right now, but you're just kind of having an idea of what you would like later down the road, or a loved one, or even a neighbor, a community member, whoever it may be. So we're here for you, and we want to be here for you. So let us know what you think, and let us know if you have concerns or questions. We're here. So thank you very much, and stay safe out there.